What's up guys, JNO United here, and welcome to another episode of Reality with Guardiola at Man City in his second season at Man City after he took the job in the summer of 2016. If you want to watch the first of this series, there'll be a link right now on the screen, as well as a link in the description and a card coming up for you. And we are now going to go into the second season with Guardiola as Man City manager, see what transfers he made, see what kind of success he had, and also see if he got fired again. Because if you watched the first episode, you'd have noticed that he got sacked, and I put him straight back in the job because I don't believe he'll get sacked in his first year. But of course, stranger things have happened. So first of all, let's not waste any time, and let's have a look at how Man City did in the Premier League. Okay, so in front of you is the Premier League table, and as you can see, Manchester City have won the Premiership title. So, Football Manager believes that Josep Guardiola will win the Premiership title in his second season. Now, in real life, would Manchester City be happy going the 2016-2017 season without the Premiership title win? I'm not so sure about that, but he has managed to bring success to Manchester City like he has at every other club. And if we have a look at the top players, as you can see on the screen right there, Sergio Aguero got 19 goals, which was joint second. Kevin De Bruyne got a 7.99 average rating for the entire season, which was joint second. Kevin De Bruyne also had the most assists with 20 in the season. And player of the matches, Kevin De Bruyne got 8. So it is looking like Kevin De Bruyne was the standout player for Josep Guardiola at Manchester City. Clean sheets wise, Joe Hart got 12 in the season. De Gea got an amazing 17 clean sheets in that season though. And the rest of the table was Manchester United, Chelsea and Arsenal in the top 4 positions, with Tottenham and Liverpool having 5th and 6th. If we have a look at the competitions as well, in the European Champions Cup, Josep Guardiola managed to lead Manchester City to the semi-finals of the European Champions Cup, losing out to Bayern Munich, who then went to the final and lost out to Real Madrid. Now that isn't too bad for Josep Guardiola in Manchester City. If we look at Manchester City's record in the Champions Cup, it's not been that impressive since they became a top 4 club in the Premiership. So this is definitely an improvement in the European Champions Cup. In the English FA Cup, they got knocked out in the 5th round, and the 4th round of the Capital One Cup, they were knocked out by Arsenal. But I believe Manchester City don't really care about those 2 tournaments, so it wouldn't surprise me if they played a lot weaker of a side. If we go and have a look at the senior squad, Joe Hart and Jack Butland are still the top choice keepers. Jack Butland did get 20 games, Joe Hart only got 35, so there is a rotation system going there, but to be honest, I don't really want to see England's 2 top goalkeepers rotating in the same squad. Names that jump out at me from that screen, they have bought Mattia Di Siglio, probably butchered that name so badly, Jero Riederwild, again, just don't hate in the comments too much. They've got Jeffro Williams, Bentaleb, Imbula, Axel Witsel, Cavallero, who seems to go Manchester City a lot in Football Manager, Dominic Berardi, Vincent Aboubakar and Mario Icardi. But appearances wise, the first team is clearly Kevin De Bruyne, Vincent Kompany, Nicolas Otamendi, Sergio Aguero, Raheem Sterling, Jeffro Williams, Yaya Toure, Zabaleta, Joe Hart, Axel Witsel and Domenico Berardi. Now, personally, I'd think when Josep Guardiola goes to Manchester City, we're going to see a few bigger signings than this Manchester City side have made. Exactly who, I'm not too sure, but I doubt the biggest signing that Man City will make when Josep Guardiola takes over will be Jeffro Williams and Domenico Berardi. The best performers for Manchester City, Kevin De Bruyne of course stood out straight from the beginning. Sergio Aguero is not going to be in doubt. Sergio Aguero always performs well in the Premier League. Vincent Kompany, Nicolas Otamendi and Dominic Berardi were the 4 best performers, all with over 7.5 average ratings for the entire season. And Yaya Toure was back to goal scoring form with 15 goals. Raheem Sterling, Dominic Berardi all broke the 10 goal barrier, with Sergio Aguero with 26. Now it looks like Josep Guardiola has favoured the 4-2-3-1 still as Manchester City manager. He seems to have put Sterling in the centre of the 3 behind the striker, with De Bruyne on the left and Berardi on the right, Aguero up top. Axel Witsel and Yaya Toure is a pretty dominant 2-man midfield there behind them. In the defence, I'd see a few changes to that defence that Josep Guardiola would make in real life, but it's clearly performed well for them. Joe Hart hasn't had the best of seasons though. If we have a look at the season, the highest scoring game they had was against Burnley in the Premiership. They beat Dortmund in the first knockout round leg 4-1 in the Champions Cup. They also beat Newcastle 4-1, Southampton 4-0, West Ham 4-0. These are all home apart from that Dortmund game. But the away game at Bayern Munich was probably the downside of their season, which they managed to lose 3-0 away. But they did beat Bayern Munich at home 3-2, just they got trounced when they went to Bayern Munich. If we have a look at his second season and see the highlights of his tenure in the 2017-2018 season, we can see that he sold Bruno Zuccolini. We can see the signings of Jeffro Williams, Bruma, Sandy, Joyner, Dominic Berardi. They sold Wilfred Bonney and Mangala to Aston Villa. Having bought Bruma, they sold him very quickly to Valencia for 9.5 million. And Josep Guardiola also got manager of the season for 2018. And finally, before I end this episode, I just want to have a look at Kevin De Bruyne's season, seeing as he did so well for Manchester City. And we can see that in all competitions he got 17 goals, 30 assists and 10 player of the matches. He had an average rating over the entire season in all games played as a 7.95. His best rating was an 8.3 with his worst at 7.35, so he never had a bad game. His passes completed, I'd like to see it a bit higher, but you can't really deny the stats, the amount of assists he got, the overall performance. But I would like a midfielder to be succeeding with more of his passes, which maybe means he was being a bit risky. 40% on target as for shot ratio isn't too bad for a midfielder, and the tackles is pretty damn good for the type of midfielder Kevin De Bruyne is. Passes completed in the game, you got a ratio of 28.37 per game. Shots on target per game, you're looking at a 0.9 per game shots on target ratio, and dribbles made at 2.89. Now I was expecting better stats from their best player, so maybe next season we'll see a more dominant Manchester City as they hit the ground running with some of their best players and some new key signings. So make sure you tune in next time to see how Josep Guardiola does in his third season, which will be the last of this series, looking at Josep Guardiola as Manchester City manager. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a pleasure being on the FM Scout channel as always, and I will catch you guys next time.